Welcome back to another episode of Light Between Us. This is a podcast with no rules, no boundaries, and absolutely no expectations. It just is. These are unscripted conversations with those I have real relationships with. This is not an interview or an informational podcast, but a podcast of witness to the living example of healing through relation 2 by 2. This podcast is a space for us to meet fully in the present and to allow the miracles, the love, and the light to shine through. A reminder, we do not wake up alone. We remember the truth together 2 by 2 as the light reveals itself in the space between us. Oh, friends, we have a guest today. Well, an amazing conversation with dear friend Ewelina. She has not been on in a bit, and so many things have transpired in her life. So many moments of opportunities to allow the rocks to move through and to really experience the love of God. She has an amazing surprise to share, but so beautiful. You get to hear how she was able to reflect after and really witness it from this space that A Course in Miracles teaches, many religions, just different things of how everything's purpose is to come closer to God and to receive the love of God. And that is what is all being worked through in every single moment, every single instance. And a moment that is so monumental in so many people's lives. Not only was she able to experience that and for what it was at the level of form, but to see what it truly was that she was overwhelmed with, which was the love of God and the true feeling of that. But we catch up on so many amazing things, job offers, weddings, engagements, travel, like all the things we have touched in the past, Ewelina has experienced in the last month and a half. So this episode, of course, will not disappoint. And yeah, like always, subscribe, turn on notifications. The more you interact with this podcast, the more it gets shown to more people so that they have the opportunity to receive the beauty and the light and the love and the miracles that you are receiving now. So here it is.
I live on Riverside.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who is listening to me rant about my personal life right now live on Riverside?
You're like, I know when I hit record the other day I hit the button the other day and didn't realize because I'm just so used to hitting the button and all of a sudden the red live and I'm like, live where? Where are we live?
I don't know.
In New York, in Times Square.
Gotta love these updates.
Hello!
These techie updates.
Yeah, who thought that was a really good idea?
I don't know, man.
Especially when we have real live, go live on Instagram and Facebook. So it's not like we don't have a connotation to live already.
Yeah.
Anyway,
for a loop.
We digress. How are you? I haven't seen you, and so much has happened.
I know. May didn't even happen. I mean, it did. But it just feels weird that it's already June because I was traveling all May and I left end of April, and now that we got home and I had my cousin's wedding. So yeah, a lot has happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm guessing your solo episode you did on your podcast talks more about the engagement.
Yes, I did share that. So freshly engaged,
yay!
Which has been beautiful. I recapped just kind of. It's always so interesting. I don't know if you experience this both when you do solo episodes. Actually, you haven't had a solo episode. It's all guest episodes.
I haven't done one yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, either way, whether for example, when we're on Lighthouse or we're just talking to anybody, you always have an opportunity to process what you're feeling when you speak it. So when I was talking about the whole experience and how I've been feeling, I was able to have deeper revelations around the joy that I was actually feeling in the moment and what it actually, for me at least, on a bigger scale and a deeper scale, represents than just, oh my gosh, this person that I love asked if I want to get married. Because there's so much that society obviously puts on, okay, the wedding and this whole thing, right? But
Yeah.
in the moment, it was so funny because I knew it was going to happen. I think I shared a voice note with you in our little
Yeah,
like
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I
Yeah,
kind of
so
shared.
shit. Yeah, you knew.
Yeah, so I knew it was going to happen. I saw the box.
Well,
And
you thought you knew, right? Like, because, like, you don't actually know just because you saw. What if he decided, like, Evelina's being a butthole? Maybe I don't want to marry her. And then
well,
he
listen,
decided not
that's
to
the
ask you.
thing. That's the thing because my cousin who just got married 2 weekends ago, her fiance was going to originally propose at a totally different time than he did, and he went
But
to New
she was a
York.
butthole?
Well, no, it just wasn't that he didn't think it was the right
Oh, okay.
time. No, not
Wait,
that.
I think I remember this. This is, you were all there, right? Weren't you guys all?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly it. We went to New York for like Thanksgiving weekend, which has kind of become like a nice tradition that we do every year. And he had the ring with him the whole time. And he was like, it was just, it wasn't the right time. Too many people. We were too busy. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like the right time. So he didn't. He ended up proposing months later. So even though I did see the box in Lewis's backpack, I'm like, okay, like just because I saw it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But it did get me excited because I was like, oh my gosh, at some point it'll happen. I don't know. But when it finally did happen, it was the most. I was just overcome with so much emotion. I couldn't stop laughing and crying at the same time. Like hysterically, like laughing, but then these tears that just wouldn't stop coming. And it was such an interesting moment where I was reflecting when I was recording my solo episode, like, why did I feel and why do people feel so much in that moment? And if we zoom out, and I was trying to think about this through like a course perspective, if Lewis is a reflection of me and ultimately there's this oneness that is ultimately all connected to God, then he is just, I guess, a metaphor for God essentially and the love of God. So to experience that deep love towards him in that moment and to know that, again, you know, he has chosen me for his life, for the rest of his life. It had all of these, like, I don't know, it was just this overwhelming feeling of love. I couldn't contain it. I couldn't stop crying. After it happened, like 10 minutes later, the super adorable senora that was helping us at the Airbnb and was preparing our romantic dinner, after he asked, she's like talking to him in Spanish, and then I show her the ring and I just start bawling again. I had no idea what she was saying, but I was like, mira, mira, like look.
Oh.
And then she said something, obviously to the both of us, but Lewis translated that she wishes us a lifetime of love and happiness. May God bless us in this new chapter. Like, just this like beautiful stuff. And I couldn't, again, tears just wouldn't stop. It was so much just love in the moment. So it was very beautiful. And ultimately, again, I really just do connect it to this connection to God, the love of God that we obviously all, are worthy of. And we don't need a moment like an engagement to remind us of that. But it did for me, for sure. And I think for a lot of people it does. So, yeah.
I love how you were able to take that perspective because, like, really, like, looking at, like, that is ultimately what it is. But the reason why it feels so strong is there's so many stories that you have built up tied to that. But the beautiful thing is, like, you've done so much work of being able to see through the stories that it was like this, like, I don't know how to respond, like, laugh and cry because it was just so overwhelming that you were able to accept it for what it truly was. Now, someone else who, like, is still in the space of its stories, like you said, will feel that, but then they give it a story of like, oh, it's because he asked this way or this day, or he finally asked, or you know what I mean? Instead of seeing like, no, it was just a metaphor. It was just a prop being used for me to experience the love of God that's actually always there. But we're just so uncomfortable accepting it without a story. And so you were able to like, because I told Pat, because you sent a voice note to us that that you were irritated with Lewis. This is before you went on the trip and stuff, because like he wasn't home helping you pack, and come to find out he was getting the ring. Yeah. But all this stuff. But so I was telling Pat, I was like, so Ewelina saw the box, but then she became like super like all of those stories you had about irritation and everything else, at least what you shared with us, went out the window. Yeah. And you were like, and so then, yeah. And even didn't Lewis at one point say like, why are you being so like loving?
Me 3 times, Ashley. 3 times. He's like, what's going on? He's like, why are you being so nice? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I just love being in Colombia. I feel so relaxed. Yeah. It's been such a great vacation. And meanwhile, I'm like paranoid because I'm like, I think he knows. He's onto me. But I didn't feel like I was acting different, but I was just so overcome with like maybe the excitement that I really let everything else before that dissipate. And maybe because for him it was a contrast, because up until that point we were kind of bickering, but then I was just so nice apparently that he was like, something's going on here. And he told me afterwards, he's like, I had a feeling that you knew because you were being really nice.
Yeah. But okay, so because Pat immediately was like, why can't you think like I'm gonna do something like that so you're always just nice, right? Like and he said, I think he said like it's such a duality in the shift based on one thing. But like, let's think about it in the way you just actually talked about what that experience was a metaphor for, was like totally like not, Scott always talks about, it's not just being open to receive, it's also being open to perceive that what you're receiving is the love of God. Like you're open to receive the love from Lewis, but then you actually perceived it for what it was at a different level, which was the love of God. But so it's like you had all of these irritations with the body of Lewis. And then as soon as you realized, with, maybe not consciously, but realized that the love of God was flowing through him and he was going to share that with you, his body and all the stupid stuff it didn't matter.
Didn't matter. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing mattered anymore.
So it's like, it's like what God's, like, the Course always talks about, what, like, God truly wants for us is to realize, like, you and I, again, why didn't we record that? Whatever. Our conversation in Bali.
Exactly what you're going to say. Yep.
Yeah. And like where we just really talked about that, our only journey here is to remember that we are the children of God and that we are always loved and literally nothing at the level of form matters, and that we can receive his love through as long as we remove the stories. Like you literally had these stories of irritation so you could not receive the love of God. But the second,
Yes. Yeah.
But you all of a sudden did.
Yeah, that's...
and nothing changed, Ewelina. Nothing changed.
Saw the box. And and to your point, I didn't know. I consciously told myself, I'm like, this doesn't mean that he's actually going to ask me, but...
just in case.
I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, just in case. And again, I think I shared in that voice note with you guys that I was really mad at myself when I saw it. Because I felt like I ruined the surprise. Because, I imagined that he was planning. Yeah, of course. And, you want to be surprised when you're engaged. You don't want to know. Like, there's so much. That's why I really grappled afterwards, too. Lewis, we were talking about this over dinner after it happened. I was like, this ring doesn't actually mean anything. Like, we place so much weight as a society of like all of this stuff, and don't even get me started on all of the questions that my family has already been asking us about what we're going to do for our wedding. That's like, I've prayed so much on that. I'm like, God, I think this is going to be my next forgiveness lesson to like,
for sure,
really.
I mean, there's so much there.
So much. And especially just witnessing my cousin go through so much chaos for her wedding. Granted, it was beautiful. It turned out to be amazing, but days before it, she's like, is it too late to cancel? Is it too late to call it off? She's like, this is just too much. I was like, okay, this is like not it. I don't want this. And Lewis and I were like, we're not doing this. Everyone expects us to do it though. So we've been having internal conversations just between us of what feels good for us. What do we want to do? Lewis and I are both open to not even having a wedding. Let's just go to City Hall and elope. And when I shared that with, I think every single person actually who I've shared it with, and we're being very mindful afterwards, I realized I'm like, we can't talk about this because I'm already getting reactions, and let's just keep this. Actually, a friend shared with me, she's like, you just got engaged. She's like, enjoy the engagement. Don't worry about the other stuff. Because there's like this pressure. Oh, when's the date? When's this and that? And so I told Lewis, I'm like, let's just keep just relishing the joy that it still feels like fresh, even though it almost happened a month ago. And not take away from it, because I've noticed already, based on reactions from people, that, of course, everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to share. And I don't necessarily want to hear it right now. So that's just something that I'm realizing, is we can keep this personal for now. And that's okay. And the expectation to discuss every detail with everybody like doesn't have to happen. But everyone who we've shared this idea of like, maybe we'll just elope. What? You're not gonna have a wedding? Like, one of my best friends is like, wait, but like, why would you take the romanticism out of all of it? Like, you know, because I even suggested maybe we just elope now, and if we want to do a celebration, we could do it later. She's like, but why would you take the romanticness out of it? I'm like, I don't see it that way, but okay, I don't know. So a lot there just with all of that. So it'll be interesting. Like I said, I've already said a really intentional prayer. God, I'm asking for your help here. I think a lot will be shown through this journey. And I'm open to learning. I'm open to remembering.
Yeah. Well, and just remember, like, everybody's a mirror. So if people are already irritating you with their responses, you're having dialogue with yourself. So I know right now you're like relishing in it, but the reality is like you have options whenever you decide of, if it's irritating you, it's an invitation. Like you said, God, I'm ready. It's an invitation to face a story, to understand. And like Julie, so I was going through this thing and I was like, it's not even about the money. It's about X, Y, and Z. She's like, you know, Ash, you always say it's not about the money. And maybe it's not this time, or maybe it's not sometimes, but I want to give you permission that it can be about the money. It can be about the money. So it's like for you, Ewelina, I think you have witnessed, I mean, the wedding piece like has been tied in so much, like your financial situation and having to go to families' weddings and having to pay all this. Like there's just been, I feel like
weddings have been a teacher, just like dog sitting, actually.
Yeah. I feel like weddings have been a theme of our conversations that you and I've had for the few years. But so the reminder that, yes, your cousin was maybe stressed a few days asking if she could cancel. But we know that peace comes from within. So if you feel guided to have this massive wedding does not equal chaos. How you perceive it is what is going to equal chaos. So permission that you can feel peace no matter what it is. Like going to the courthouse, like you could show up there and they could, like, a fugitive could get loose and run. Like, I mean, that could be chaos, right?
I know. That could be chaos,
you don't
too.
Know.
Yeah.
Right. It could be more chaos than what. So just like because I hear that. I hear you grappling, and not that you're going to end up having a big wedding, but if you're going to be so adversarial to it, we know there's a problem.
No, I know that, and we keep joking, Lewis and I, because the venue that my cousin got married at, everybody's gotten married at. I've talked about it.
Another cousin owns it. Yeah.
My family owns it, and every life event happens there. I'm going to be there next weekend for a baptism. Like, it's just right down this. I could walk there in 3 minutes down my grandparents' street, and I'm there.
Perfect.
And I've always said, I'm not getting married at Crystal Ballroom because everybody gets married there. And Lewis is like, babe, you know we're probably going to get married there. I was like, you know what? I think we are. Like, I think it's going to end up being there. Maybe it looks different from what everybody else has been doing. Or even if it looks the same, I think I just really have to stay open and not attach to any outcome, because I think the more that I do that, the more it's going to not feel easeful. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So just a permission, like it can look like you can the chaos. Peace and chaos. The peace is going to be within you, not like whatever, unfolds outside of you. It's going to be how you and Lewis view this, view it from the space of it being used for you to get closer to God, or it being used for all the ego-driven things, whatever it is, like to look perfect, to make sure everyone's happy, to have the right food, to have all that stuff.
What a perfect backdrop for a release. I think
oh my God.
Yeah, I like
probably
as we talk
probably
about
one of the
it,
biggest ones, like marriage, death, and divorce.
I know, yeah, actually, because like it is such a, obviously it's a very personal experience for you yourself and the person that like you love the most.
Yeah,
your
supposed
partner.
to be that.
You're supposed to be that, right? But then you are celebrating with your family, also your other closest mirrors in this life, and you're a lot of times, again, I think for many cultures, because for Polish people, but I've also talked to people from all walks of life. It's like, yeah, a wedding is really just for like your parents' friends and family, and like that whole expectation. So it is honestly, yeah, one of those environments where, you are being tested on all fronts: family, relationship, finances, all people pleasing, all of it. Everything.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a pendulum, right? So like I heard your pendulum statements that the world has is like, oh, wedding, like even right now with my brother's wedding is coming up. And I'm realizing, like I told my mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it costs I even like brought up your family because, I'm just blown away at like what wedding guests bring to the wedding. But I was talking about okay, it costs like a fortune to have a wedding, right? Like for the people. But then like Pat and I and my son, like we have to buy plane tickets to get there and a hotel while we're there. And
traveling.
Right. And we don't have any, like, we didn't bring nice clothes, like even to wear to the rehearsal dinner. I did not bring nice enough clothes because we were coming here to house watch a farm. So like all this stuff is in, so we have to buy outfits for multiple days. And my son doesn't own a suit. Yeah. Well, I looked at that, and ultimately at the end of the day, it is thousands of dollars per person outside of like the actual wedding. And so our mind immediately goes to that it's cheaper to do it this other way versus this way. And I even like, I fed that story, but as I'm talking to you, I'm like, is it? Or like, is it what I always talk about in Lighthouse that like, if you weren't going to that wedding, I wouldn't have that extra $2,000 just laying around because you always get exactly what you need.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's that mental case thing. So we think it's like, oh, so much money for this or that. But it's like, would I actually have that money if I wasn't doing this?
Chances are maybe, maybe not. Yeah. No, that is a really interesting perspective, because you're right. It's such a perfect context to put all this like blame almost on, of like, oh, this all costs so much and blah blah blah. But then there's like another perspective in that too. Maybe because too, in your specific instance, it's a destination wedding. So a lot of people actually look forward to destination weddings because they treat it like a vacation. Everyone takes like 1 or 2 big vacations a year, and if they know a good friend is getting married and they're going to be flying somewhere, they make that a vacation. So then that cost and that, if you look at it through that perspective, that cost almost like cancels out. It cancels itself out in a way too, of like, oh, well, I'm just going to be enjoying my vacay, but also witnessing my favorite humans getting married or something. So
right. Yeah, but it's like the whole, like, I don't know. So what, because we're like now not digressing, but moving into like the money situation. So the other day I was having this like grappling, and I sent a message to Lighthouse asking for reflection, and Julie came back and she sent this like quote from the Soul of Money book. She had just finished it. It was like the last quote. And it did not give me any answers at all. And then she like sent a voice memo, and she's like, as much as I want to give you an answer, I only feel called to this. This is so hard. And like, I was so upset. I was like crying, everything else. And I'm like, to Pat, who has not read The Soul of Money, so he has like no idea other than what he hears on my side of our calls. And I showed him the quote that she sent, and I was like, I don't even know how this relates. Like, I don't even know how to make this, like, whatever. And so he came up with the craziest genius thing ever. He's like, okay, let's say we live in a community. And I'm going to use like you and Lewis as the other people, okay? So we live in a community, and Lewis and Ewelina are the fishermen, and that's how they eat. They go fish. We're the berry pickers, and that's how we eat. We go get berries. And so let's say one day Lewis and Ewelina are out fishing, and they find a berry tree. But like, they know that Ashley and Pat are the berry pickers. So they come and they're like, we found a berry tree. But you know, our fishing hasn't been good and we're kind of hungry. So because you got this extra berry tree, can we have some of those berries? And we already have like all of our other berries, like we're fine. You would totally be like, okay. Mm-hmm. But if it's money, if all of a sudden Ewelina's like, hey, Ash, I've got a job for you. I'll pay you $2,000. And then like a week later, Ewelina's like, actually, you know, some stuff didn't align the way I thought it was going to. How about $1,500 instead to help out with, you know, stuff costs for you and Pat to process the berries? Then I would be like, because it's money. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's like such a mind, because it's literally the same damn thing, except for one's called money, and we've created this like non-communal, when it comes to money, it's not able to be looked at as a communal village. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought what was so fascinating about that book, and on the topic of what you're sharing, and I think
Did you finish it?
Did you finish it? I'm like 75% done, and it's just like every time it goes from my coffee table to like my bookshelf to my chair.
Yeah, mine's on the way. Yeah.
It'll get finished eventually. Or not. Who knows? We'll see.
Right.
But, I think one of the first chapters that she starts off with that indigenous village or something that they didn't even know what money was. Mm-mm. Because it really is such a human construct, and to think how much value we put on it, like the paper. I was listening to some podcast this morning, and they were talking about that whole like, it was more of a conspiracy podcast. You know how I like conspiracy podcasts. But they were talking about how, you know, people are after more power and wealth and blah blah blah, materialism and Satanism and all this stuff. And it's like, it's fake if you really think about it. Because,
no, it is. Like, not even really. It is.
Yeah, it is actually.
Legit.
It is. Yep. So I was like, oh man, it's just like, if you could. Again, in those moments, and we say this and we laugh, but when we're in those moments faced with like the dollar, we're like, oh my gosh. But then it's like, okay, you zoom out and you're like, wait a second, this isn't even real.
Right. Well, because like I was in this state of like, it's tied to my worth, right? Like, oh, now I'm only worth this. And oh, there was a debt I didn't know I had and I'm not paying it. Just like all of those stories of like, just tied to what we have money tied to. And it's not tied to a communal at all, period. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you think of a lot of married people don't share money. Like, it's pretty common. I think it's actually more common today than ever. So even if you're joining, like we're talking about right now, like marriage is the joining of two individuals saying, hey, I want you to be my partner for the foreseeable whatever future, which is this second. But still, we're going to pretend like we're committing more than this second. And, and that we want God to know, like, hey, use my relationship with Lewis to blow my mind and piss me off and move all my stories through me, but a safe space.
Yep.
But I'm not going to share my money with him.
Yep.
Like, if that does not scream money is individuality, money is like selfish at the level of the like people human.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I'll say for Lewis and I, when we started dating, that was one of the first things that was like a big topic of conversation for us, because he was he was the first person actually to have me begin questioning and unraveling all the money stories. Because I remember when we first met, that was a narrative that I was still holding on to, of being this independent girl boss. Because years prior, my business was successful and I wore it as a badge of honor. And gosh, by the time Lewis came in my life, that was shortly after I did my world travels. I drained through my loan or whatever to fund my world travels. And then I was just like racking up the credit card debt. And then when he asked me, he's like, how much debt do you have? And I shared my numbers. I was like, oh my God. So it's like, it's actually really funny. And we were talking about it this morning, actually. He was taking a shower and I was in the bathroom and he was paying off some of his credit cards. Because obviously, from my bankruptcy journey that I experienced, I haven't had credit cards. We've been kind of putting everything on his, all that, whole thing. But we were talking about numbers and what it looks like for paying it off. And we were laughing. Like, we were laughing the entire time of like, oh my God, like, wait, I thought that there was so much less or there was so much more. It was just so, I think I didn't reflect on it until now, but it was so just lighthearted. And I think given what everything, of course, that I've been through with my bankruptcy journey and us just laying it all out on the table, that's actually one area that I feel probably like the most comfortable discussing with him now at this point. Like, when we were actually in Colombia last month, I reflected on this after the fact and I was like, wow, I've come so far with this. There was a moment where it was like 2 days before my monthly payments were going to land in my bank account, but I had like $3.14 to my name between all
That's
of my
a lot
bank
in
account.
Colombia.
I mean, you multiply that by 3.6 and that's, that could get you a good lunch or something. Yeah. But for whatever reason, I was in my bank account checking something. He's like, whoa, babe. He's like, $3.14. I'm like, I know, this is all that I have to my name right now. And we just burst out laughing. And it was just so like lighthearted and relieving. And there was no weight or shame or anything attached. Whereas, I mean, heck, 6 months ago, I think I shared with you guys on Lighthouse, I was crying at Walmart because I was afraid to use his credit card because that would mean that I was so worthless and dependent on him and him helping me. And now it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So that was very relieving.
But like, I mean, it's how you see one thing is how you see all things. And we started the conversation in you sharing with how you were able to like take a reflection of what that moment of proposal actually was the connection to God, right? The love of God. So that means like you're using God's Walmart card, you know what I mean? Or like credit card at Walmart, because it's God always with sustaining you. It's never whatever you think it's not even your job. It's not even wherever you believe this money is coming from. It's just, it's so much greater than that. Like you're being held and it looks different in different moments. And you and I talk about that because I struggled too, like when Pat had to, like support me and all this stuff. And then I started to like see it as him until all of a sudden some of those things were questioned. And then it's really caused me to see like, it doesn't matter if it comes through Pat, through me. Evelina calls and says, hey, you want $2,000? The guy on the street hands me $10. Like it's flowing in. Always. I'm always got berries. So I don't know why all of a sudden when I have an abundance of berries, I need to hoard them. you know? And so I think that's why it's easier for you. Not even easy, it just is. I feel like it's not even like an easy thing. It just is because you've shifted it and you're able to see now that like I'm a child of God, and today it appears that he's making sure I get what I need with this guy who appears to be called Lewis's credit card. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just always exchanging. But then we judge it.
Yes. Yes. And on the topic or on the note of like having come so far, I know that there are moments that I can't think of one at the top of my head, maybe because I have been feeling lighter about it, but we're always being tested, you know, in these things. Like I'm sharing with you now, money stories, you know, feel lighter and all that. Tomorrow, that could be something else could come up. And then I'm reminded like, okay, like let's come back to what I've already remembered and become and zoom out. So,
well, because it's the onion like we talk about. So it's like, you know, today I was talking to Julie and something came up that it comes up frequently, right? And we move through a new layer. So, you know, I don't believe God tests us ever. We're not even testing ourselves. It's like the little rocks in the shoe. It's like, oh crap, there's another rock in the shoe. Like I had moved through some of these money stories. Crap, oh, I didn't send it to you because you're not in the Lighthouse group anymore. But the other day I saw this quote and I'm like, this is what we're always freaking talking about. And it was by David, you know, Hoffmeister. Yeah. And I have to read it to you because this is like literally what we're always saying. When the mind is ready to expand to a new level, everything that stands in the way of that expansion gets pushed to the surface. That's what we're always saying.
Rocks. Those are the little rocks.
Yeah. So like, it's I mean, as uncomfortable as it feels when you experience that means you're moving to that next level of closer to God, of like feeling the love more often than just these moments.
Yeah.
And
that's the great reframe about it that I really try to remind myself every time, especially when I feel so uncomfortable, or I'm trying to think of like a recent thing. Lewis and I had like a disagreement the other day, and it stirred up like some uncomfortable feelings for me. But my mind immediately went to like a place of gratitude of, okay, this is coming up again for me, but I know I trust your plan, God. Like I trust that this is coming into my life to help me work through this story. And it's something so silly. It was around like keeping the house tidy. Like I tell him constantly, like, just like pick up your stuff. Cause me and my Polish cleaning, organizing, like I like a clean home. So when Lewis will throw his socks or leave something, the way that I internalize it though is like, I feel like I'm not being heard. I feel like I'm being disrespected. So it prompted a conversation that actually left me feeling so uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God, like where is this coming from? And we were able to talk about it, and oh my gosh, it was so much lighter once we talked about it, especially after the fact. I was like, okay, yes, I know how you're using this, God. But in the moment, I immediately was like, I don't know where this is going, but I trust it, and I just pray, help me, like, navigate this. Yeah. So,
a beautiful backdrop. Yeah. And I think, I mean, you were giving yourself stories. Like, let's be honest. You want a clean house because it's something to control, because I know you've had moments where your house has not been clean and you were completely fine with it. So just a reflection on your Polish story that you came up with, which is so, okay.
I always
just have
go
to
back to that though.
I know you do. It's a good scapegoat in so many areas for you. But you know what's super funny is I went for a run today and I was thinking of you, because I was going to quick mow the lawn. This is like right before I texted you. So then I texted you and asked, you know, if we could meet later or whatever. So I was thinking of you, quick texted you, I was sitting in my truck and I noticed this guy getting out of this older truck behind me and looking like disheveled, and he pulls up like the hood, whatever, and he starts to walk kind of in my direction. So I open the door. I'm like, are you okay? Do you need help? And he's like, help me, please help me. I am almost 1,000% positive.
He's Polish.
Yes, I'm like totally stereotyping right now. So everybody, but like quintessential.
Like Eastern European accent.
Yes. And he just kept saying, help me, help me. Cause you could tell he was frustrated with his car. Mm-hmm. And he was frustrated that he couldn't communicate. Because then I was like, he's like, jump, like we somehow jumper cables. And I was like, I don't have any. And so we were right next to this, the appellate court or whatever. And I'm like, I said, go in there, see if they have him. He goes, help me. I'm like, okay, we go together in there.
This man.
And then we go in and there's like, like, whatchamacallit, to x-ray detectors, all that stuff. Cause it's like an appellate court. But this lady meets us. Well, it's just like a courthouse, but more of the state courthouse.
Oh, God, like security, like
security, yeah, the X-ray, like whatever those are.
Like,
that we go
hospital.
No. Okay. But anyway, so we got a lady to go out and help him and jump his car. But it was just one of those moments where, again, you see like how everything is happening. Like I'm thinking of my only Polish friend that I have, and then like I'm in Spokane, Washington. I don't know, maybe there's a high Polish population here. I don't know how, like.
You're everywhere.
Yeah, you're everywhere. But it was just so like, oh my gosh, I'm speaking of, like, and as I drove away, I was like, if we couldn't have figured it out, I could have just got Ewelina on the phone.
Yeah. If you asked, are you Polish? You could have called me and I would have talked to him.
Yeah, for sure. But it was just, so I don't even know why I had to share. But I had to share with you because it was just one of those moments of like, what are the chances?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to talk to my Polish friend in like an hour.
That's great. I bet you he was Polish.
I think so. Because also, the weird thing is, I watched, not weird thing, but I watched or saw your speech for your cousin's wedding, which I couldn't understand because it was not in English. Yeah. And when he was, like, it reminded me, like, that's what came to my mind was you speaking during that. Similar. I was like, I was like, I think this guy.
But you know what's funny is when Lewis and I will be out in public, whether we're at the mall or a store, there will be people who pass by us who will speak a foreign language, and he's always like, are those your people? And it honestly takes me a second sometimes because I can't always pick up on it because Ukrainian sounds very similar, Czech sounds very similar. Like I could read Czech and completely understand what it says because the words are so similar. So
could you navigate like kind of a conversation with someone who speaks Czech then? No?
I could understand what they say. I don't think I'd be able to say anything back. Unless I speak back to them in Polish, then they would probably
And maybe they could understand you. Yeah.
So they speak Czech to me and I speak Polish. So
that would be kind of cool.
I know. Actually, yeah. I do have a friend in Czech Republic. Did I ever share this story with you? I met her in an Uber in Miami and she became my client.
It sounds familiar. Do you still work with her?
No, I helped her. So when I launched my podcast like 2 or 3 years ago, because we had connected over Instagram because we had so much in common. This woman, literally, I was walking in Brickell, Miami, on like whatever. I was on a solo trip there, just by myself, hanging out. And this woman approached me. She's like, how do I get back to my hotel? Because she was from Czech Republic on vacation in Miami. She's like, how do I get a taxi? I was like, I actually have never like used. Like we don't use taxis here. Like you could call.
We use Uber.
Yeah. And I'm like, where are you staying? And she's like, on South Beach. I'm like, I'm there too. And her hotel was like down the street from where I was staying. I was like, I'm actually heading back. Like I could call an Uber and we could head back together. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, of course. It's no problem. And then we're chatting in the Uber. I see she's wearing an Oura ring. I was like, are you into health and wellness? She's like, I'm a physical trainer. We listened to the same podcast. I was like, oh my God. Like we just went down.
Yeah.
So many tangents, had so much in common. connected over Instagram, and then probably like a year later, I launched my podcast. She saw it. She got so inspired. She's like, I've been thinking about launching my podcast, but I just don't know how to do it. Could you help me? So I built out her whole podcast. And last I checked, it's still going strong. And it was like, yeah, just like the loveliest connection. She's like, anytime you're in Czech Republic, let me know. I have a vineyard in France. We can go to my vineyard. I was like, oh my God. Like,
in France?
less.
Let's go there. Yeah. You had me at hello. You had me at France.
Actually, the whole point of me though sharing is when I read her captions for her podcast, because everything.
Oh, you can understand them.
I understand everything. I was like, this is wild. Yeah.
So now that you say that, like there is, I think, a Ukrainian population here or a Russian. Mm-hmm. So like whatever. Nice. Either way, I felt the connection, whether it was there or not.
Know.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's okay. He's safe.
Right. Oh yeah, like I got him hooked up. Like she works at the pellet court. Like she's gonna see it through. I feel like it.
Yeah.
I felt
That's
it.
good.
Yeah. And I wanted to give him a little Jesus. Oh my gosh. So that was something but I didn't have any with me. And then I almost like Googled, do Polish people, and I was like, well, Ewelina does, like, would he be offended if I give him a baby Jesus? But I didn't have one with me, so I couldn't even give him one. But so I had that thought in my head. I was like, I have never, those thoughts have not crossed my head yet about the baby Jesuses of like, could this be offensive to hand this to someone, right?
Well, I guess one can argue that is their story.
Well, yeah, I know.
And also your story, I guess.
My story, because I'm questioning it.
Yeah, if you get offended, that they get offended. But I don't know. I mean, I think like, because the baby Jesuses, it's so funny. I actually like, they have been such a gift more for Lewis than for me. In a way, he's shared so many beautiful stories about how he like really has impacted both his coworkers and like clients' lives with them, because he took a bunch. He's like, I'm grabbing a bunch, I'm gonna hand them out. And he's handed them out with like the most like beautiful intentions, has had like conversations, like really spirit-led conversations with people, and then he gives them a baby Jesus and then they just like start crying. Like it's just been like the most beautiful experiences. But I think so long as it's done with the intention of love, like this is a little symbol for me to you of just the reminder that you are loved, and that I love you and I wish you well. Right. So yeah, that's so true. It just, I had never thought in my head before that question though. I think maybe because I don't know why, but I just never thought about it. It just like popped in there. I know. I guess like because you never know in these days and times with what everyone's thinking and feeling. Maybe that's it. But you know, at the end of the day, and even if they got offended, that could just be that opportunity for a prickle for them for movement. Yeah. So how has Spokane been? Are you guys like still settled, and like has anything shifted? No, we're settled. I don't know. I can't remember the last time you and I talked. Were we settled in the Airbnb? Had we left I think it was mid-April, because I had left end of April for my trip. Yeah. So, last time I talked, I burnt the cookies because I was making cookies. remember, I think. Yeah. I remember. I burnt a batch of cookies. But no, we're back into the apartment with the farm. And so we've your backdrop is different, and your yellow suit is behind you. Yeah. And your coat hanger, is that the coat hanger that you thrifted? Yeah, but it's like, and it's not like meant to be a focal point for me, but we're in a studio apartment, and literally like this is a corner window and this is my closet. I put a curtain over it. I kind of like it. It feels like very artsy. Yeah, and so this was just like the best place. Like it's out of the way. Like nobody's doing anything here because there's a window, and I get my clothes like out of this direction, whatever. Yeah. But then the I don't know if you heard the podcast, but this is like
a wall of all my favorite things I had thrifted. Like that's the lamp I had done. That's the free Jesus head and stuff. But after we hung it, Pat was like, I think we have every religion represented. And I was like, what? And he's like, except for Judaism, which we told a friend, and they're like, Jesus supposedly was born Jewish, so you for sure have that covered. Yeah. But yeah, so like we have Christianity, because like of course we've got Jesus everywhere. We've got the Last Supper, that's what the little one is. And then the Course, A Course in Miracles, we have that's on top of my the holder, and the holder is actually made for the Quran. It's like a handmade thing for, and then no, we have Islam covered. Judaism is what we didn't. So we figured that out. But so that's Islam. And then the holy vessel, the water vessel, that's Hinduism. And then Julie, like you kind of saw in our messages, like literally we got to see each other for 1 hour in the state of Minnesota when she laid over from London to Omaha. And so she gave me that flower, and it's a marigold. And marigolds are huge in Buddhism. That's like their daily remembrance of presence and all this stuff. So anyway, it just so happens that we have the Course, which incorporates all of the truth within religion. And then we it's like encompassing all of the religions.
That. It's like a little altar.
Yeah, that's what C referred to it as. So yes. We are settled into the Airbnb. Just
for how long?
Beautiful.
Just TBD?
At minimum May of next year for a year. Wow. Yeah. I went home to Minnesota for a brief period, like I just said. We're going to go back in July for my brother's wedding that we were just talking about. But yeah, just continuing to follow what unfolds here. So we've had some crazy connections with some really amazing people. I have this girl, Chelsea. I don't know if I told you about her. So I wanted friends, like local friends that like to do the same thing. And and I reached out to her on, I think a video of hers got recommended on YouTube. And I was like, I think she's nearby and she's a thrifter and stuff. And so we went thrifting. And now, we're staying in touch, and we're going to go to this event this Sunday. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to this big garage sale thing. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much
that's lovely. It's interesting to see you guys like grounded in one place after being all over. For the last, how long were your travels? A year and a half? A year?
Yeah. So in October, it would be officially 2 years on October 1st. So like a year. I mean, we're still essentially, granted, like you said, it feels more grounded. But at the end of the day, it's still like, I don't know, just everything. Maybe like it's shown me that everything is just not ever actually grounded in the terms, like you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it does feel more put, but it also in the same aspect feels the same as all of our travels. I don't know. Like the same but different.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, that's interesting because this time that we spent in Colombia felt, granted, I know, like I've been there before, so maybe I would argue, like, if it was a totally new country, there'd be more novelty. But we did stay in, like, a completely new, different city that we hadn't experienced along the coast for a few days. So that was different. But, yeah, I just felt this, like, again, total neutrality around everything. Of, like, this is lovely, but I didn't view it. I know I would have viewed it so differently a couple of years back. And had different sentiments around, staying there, seeing all the things, all of that. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, Lewis and I, especially maybe this time around, we're like, it'd be great. Well, he keeps saying, he's like, we're definitely going to retire in Colombia. But
Okay.
I'm like, why retire? Like, we could just, why not find a property sooner and
Well, and what the
split
hell
our
is
time?
retirement? Like what,
I
like,
know that's the thing too. Like, when am I retiring? I don't think I'm retiring anytime soon.
but
So,
what is like, so if we think of it like retirement is a carrot, right? That the ego has created. So you work your butt off, you save money, you do all these things so that when you retire, you can do it. But like when you start to own your own business, like I don't it's some
that
doing
business,
something you love or
yeah,
whatever, like you're like what is what am I retiring from? Like
I know. I don't want to stop
enjoying.
doing what I like doing.
Yeah, and that changes day to day. Like, there's an opportunity potentially that I'm going to be able to be a full-time farm school teacher next year. And it's like, it doesn't feel like I have to. It doesn't feel like
Hmm.
work. It feels like this amazing opportunity. And if everything is being used for the unwinding of the mind, then like, same for work. Work is not about the purpose of saving money for retirement or paying off our bills. Going to your job, the biggest purpose that is to bring you closer to the love of God. So
Yeah.
then it's like,
But how bad, when you think about how backwards that is for the majority of people. I was
yeah,
just having a conversation. It was actually, I think it was like, it was the day after we got back from our trip. So at this point, it was like, I don't know, three
couple
weeks
weeks, right?
ago. Yeah. My brother, his fiance, and my cousin had come over just to wish us congratulations and, like, celebrate with us. She brought me flowers and all that. And she just started a new job a few months ago. And it was a big, refreshing change because she was coming from working a third shift in the postpartum department at a hospital. So overnight, it was just like chaos. She wasn't
Yeah.
sleeping. It was so hard. And now she got a more stable 9 to 5 in an office, which she was like, oh, first shift. So, well, yeah, 9 to 5. So she was like so happy and excited, and it was so novel, and oh my gosh. And I asked her, like, how's work and stuff going? And it was just this immediate, like, it was just like a depression. It was a depression. And I
The new
felt,
job, the 9 to 5, the new one,
yes, yes. And
the
it's only
one
been
that
a
was supposed
couple
to be
months.
way better.
Yes, when it was maybe for the first couple weeks, especially when you're coming from third
Well, it's just a
shift and
shift. Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
shift, the novelty, but then very quickly it was back to like, what the heck? In a different way, because now, like, okay, she's not maybe like upset that she's very tired and the schedule is off. But speaking of schedule, the thing that we really ended up talking was this concept of time and how she feels like there is no time because when you work from 9 to 5 and then you get home at 6 and then you make dinner, the day's over and that's it. And that's the same thing every day, Monday through Friday. And I literally saw like a former version of myself when I started working architecture post college because I had this very depressing realization that, like, school is school and different schedule and there's no responsibilities outside of doing homework, and I don't even know how the heck I survived. Like, I had like a work study and was making $9 an hour. I don't know, but it was just like I didn't have to worry. You don't have to worry about essentially a lot when you're in college. So I think maybe for most people, but I remember starting my full-time job, and within a matter of just like I think a couple weeks, that realization of like, this is what I have to do every single day for the rest of my life until I'm like 65. It was so just depressing and stark to realize. And she was sharing that sentiment with me. And so I was just encouraging different ideas of like, well, is there something else that lights you up that you could do? And she's always loved doing hair. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what if you start doing this part time or on the weekends? And the reaction from my cousin and my brother was just so negative of like, well, that's just what life is. What do you think? What do you think this is going to be like? And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, no, I'm like completely from the other side. I don't know, but I just like that whole conversation came to mind as we're talking about this whole idea of like, the retirement and working, because it reminded me that I think I was so surprised at my brother and cousin's reaction, because I haven't felt that in so long. And maybe because for myself, I've experienced the possibility of doing something other and still not like dying and burning to the
Right.
ground.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just see, I think when she was talking about the part-time hair job, I just saw this light in her that I'm like, ooh, baby, so
Yeah.
without
But it's
intruding.
but it's a perfect example of everywhere you go there you will be, right? Like it's like when we talked about how travel can turn into a belief that things will be better, right? Like you've taught, like before you thought,
Right.
like
Yeah.
according to Evelina 4 years ago, you should be miserable right now because you're living in your hometown, you're living in your grandparent, like literally all the things that you thought equaled miserable lifestyle you're doing right now, and you're happier than I believe you even were when you were traveling, like true internal happiness and joy. So it's like the job piece. It's like the internal conflict is so uncomfortable. We have to find a reason outside of us instead of going within. So you are seeing sparks of joy of the hair, but right now that's not. She believes what your cousin and your brother is saying, that life is hard. This is what you have to do. You can't enjoy it. So she's going to continue to see that until the belief shifts, and then the doors open for the opportunity to follow that. But she's not going to follow that until she starts to it starts to crack a little. Like she's still, until she's ready for the next level. And maybe she is. Maybe this like miserably and having the conversation with Evelina is the start of the rocks moving. Um, but yeah, that's all it is, because literally, as well as I do, that the overnight shift, the day shift, doing hair, she can be happy in all three, because, or she can feel joy and peace. Let's not do happy because that's on the
Yeah.
duality, happy, sad. But she
Mm-hmm.
can feel joy and peace and unlimited time, right? Like just mass amounts of time in those positions, because it's an internal state of perception. But it's like she's on, the Candyland. Like right now, Candyland has her testing all these different waters to see is happiness here, until she finally goes within and then allows herself to experience the happy dream.
Yeah, and you bring up something that's interesting in like why we think that sometimes what we share with people is going to impact them, but like people need to be ready to
Right.
receive
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying. And what ready means is, again, if they've done the internal looking at the stories and releasing those narratives, to then be able to receive what we're sharing. Otherwise it just falls on deaf ears. And no matter, even if we have a good intention, obviously, like for me, it's like, oh, I just want her to be happier, and maybe I can
Mm-hmm.
help her. But then it's like, yeah, like that's it. If I zoom out, it's like I know that's not like my job to do
Mm-hmm.
that. Whatever seeds I could plant if I feel inspired in the moment to share, but whether or not and how she receives that is not up to me. But I
Right.
think I've been in that situation before a lot too. I think especially when I started my journey with like personal development, because I felt like, oh my god, this is has given me all the answers that I've been grappling with. So I would just like push it on my friends and astrology and like all that stuff. And meanwhile, come to find out, my friends are like, yeah, you were like so far out in some of the stuff you're doing and saying. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I was. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I did. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Well, also interestingly, I didn't really like piece that conversation together with what happened, and this was just the following week. So again, a couple weeks ago at this point, but I was offered a full-time job. And like I wasn't searching and but it just fell into my lap. And the conversation and no, no, I didn't. It didn't even it was interesting. It was I told myself back in October because I had gone to a networking event at this really amazing studio here in New Haven, and come to find out they have done the branding for all the restaurants that Lewis and I always eat at here locally. And I yeah, I think I did, and it was great. It was yeah, it was great. And I even said I was like, if I ever end up like working full time for a company, this would be a company I'd want to work for. And so when I was in Colombia, I had gotten an email from the creative director who I met, and I was like, he wanted to chat with me, and I was like, what is this about? Like, this has been months. It's been 6 months since this event. And I had a hunch. I'm like, could this be about work? Because I saw that they were hiring a brand designer. And we get on the call, and it was really interesting. And I realized afterwards, I was like, ooh, a lot came out of that for me because he basically, I went in thinking maybe he would offer some sort of like opportunity, but he like flat out was like, so we need some help. A lot of people, we've had a lot of internal change and all that. And we shared a job posting, but, we've gotten like hundreds of applications, but we're looking for someone more senior level, someone who already could take like a leadership role. And internally between the creative director and a senior designer there, they were thinking like, who do we know in our Rolodex that we can just like reach out to without having to go through all these resumes? And again, I don't know what impression I left, but maybe they looked on my Instagram or my website and it resonated. But he said, he's like, we immediately thought of you, and essentially like the position's yours if you want it. And I was internally, I was like trying not to freak out. I was like, oh my god, because it was so flattering. I guess like I realized afterwards too. I think I was trying to almost like not like talk about my capabilities, but you know when you're in an interview or you're having a conversation for a job, like you feel like you got to kind of like convince the person to win your argument. And I get off that call, I was like, wow, I didn't have to do any of that. And like I could like be at peace knowing that if the right opportunity kind of comes, or there could be moments where it's like I am just the right fit and I don't need to prove myself, because that's always kind of like it's meant to be, yeah. So we discussed, the terms. I had many questions like, oh, so is this full time? It would require me going into the office 3 days a week, which is kind of a long commute, could be up to an hour. And I essentially wouldn't be able to continue doing my Studio Domka work. And so I just immediately, intuitively, I was like, this doesn't feel right to let go of that, especially because two of my clients have just doubled the scope. So I told him, like, if we had this conversation 2 months ago, I would have immediately had said yes, but something just doesn't feel like 100%. But then we discussed freelance and part-time, which, he said he definitely, that was going to be his next question. So I don't know. I haven't heard from him. It's been a couple weeks. But what was interesting, and Lewis asked me after, he's like, well, how much would they pay you and all that? I was like, I didn't even think to ask him about pay. And I realized, I'm like, it's not even about the money for me with this job. I think it's more so about the other factors or terms of like what I guess maybe like feels good. Like I think it continues to feel good for me to, not think about commuting 2 hours a day. Like that was kind of a big turnoff. And I think I would be very sad to let go of these new like increased scope clients that I have for Studio Domka. So yeah, but I think that was like it was very interesting, and I'm still kind of sitting with like, what could this be, and blah blah blah. But yeah, that just kind of came and went and subsided, but it was really, I don't know, very interesting. Hmm. I think we did talk about it on your podcast, maybe. Yeah. 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 Well, then I felt into like shame and guilt. I was like, why didn't I even ask him about that? And then I had to check myself. I'm like, Evelina, this isn't about the money at all. Like I was never meant to. It didn't even enter my consciousness, Ashley. It was like I know, because the first I was like benefits, money, because he was is like you didn't ask anything about benefits or pay. I was like, no, I didn't. Yeah, that's the thing, and I guess to your point, like I wasn't meant to say yes, and that no matter how much I thought and told myself like this is exactly what I would want, but No, it would just it's like a full-time commitment. It's 40 hours plus a week. So he made it pretty clear like that would be tough. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Yeah. 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 For sure. Yeah. I think it just like it brought up a lot of very interesting reminders for me. I didn't consider the one you just shared of like we think we always know what makes us happy, but I did consider and share that, and I told him this directly, like, you know, if you had asked me, but who am I to also know at this point? Because I told him if you asked me 2 months ago, I would have said yes. But I think so, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So I guess whatever was meant to be said in that conversation just happened. But it was just, it was wild how, for whatever reason, it's like God did give me like a little taste of there could be at any day, and I know this, like at any moment, someone can enter my inbox or I can meet a stranger and like a whole new, like, portal in my life, whether it's work or connections or anything. And it's the constant reminder of I actually have no idea what's happening in my life. Like, as much as I can plan or anticipate something or tell myself that I would do this or blah, 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 I actually have no freaking idea. I just proved it to myself. So, mhm. Didn't even, yeah, did not enter my awareness at all until Lewis said it. Right until Lewis said it, because I wasn't even thinking about it after. So I'm like, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I bring up the whole story about the full-time job thing, because literally like a few days before I had had that conversation with my cousin about her and like jobs and all of that. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 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 So that was another, I know. That's another update of what has transpired in the last month plus since our last connection. I'm engaged. And like, yeah, and that the funny thing is while I was on vacation, I didn't do like any work, and this full-time job still came up, which is just a testament of like old version of Evelina who wouldn't dare close her computer on a weekday. Felt thinking like I need to work harder so I can do more and make more. Now it's like it's all gonna actually be okay and it's gonna turn out, yeah, it's all gonna turn out fine. So more permission to just like stop controlling and expecting an outcome. Hmm. Here we are. Yeah, I miss you guys too. How has everything been? Good. Yeah. I hope that this retreat idea that you had for November still happens, cuz or whenever, just some sort of excursion. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't, no. And I just felt again a nudge to record this week. So I'll probably share it Monday or Tuesday of next week. And it's a lot of it is what we talked about of like my revelations around the engagement and what that all felt like, more kind of like processing from the trip and I forget, maybe just like what's ahead. Oh, like an update with the apartment, which there is no update, but I talked about how peaceful I feel about that. So yeah. Yeah. So look out for that next week at some point. We are so at peace. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ashley.